Welcome back, everybody, to the California Small Farm Conference. This is our final day of virtual programming, and we're really excited to have you all here. And we hope that we will see you at our in-person gatherings over the next couple of days in 10 different locations around California. So today, we're going to kick off the workshops with calling all farmers and market vendors, a look at California fruit and veggie EBT pilots. So this is a really great topic. Really excited to have our presenters here today. Thank you so much for being here, and all of you attendees out there for getting up bright and early to join us on this really important topic. So thanks for being here. Encourage folks to use the chat and the Q&A at the bottom of your screen to interact today. This workshop is being recorded, and we'll share the videos out to all attendees after the conference. And with that, I'll pass it along to you all. Thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Evan, and thanks, Calf, for a great conference. Let me go back. I'm Rosio. My name is Rosio Almaguer Andrade. She, they pronouns. I am the Food and Farming Program Manager at the Ecology Center. Also support the work of the California Alliance of Farmers Markets. I'll be starting us off with this presentation today, but before I do so, I did want to give just a second or a minute for my colleagues to introduce themselves. They'll be sharing later in the hour, but maybe if you can introduce your name, your pronouns, and then I'll get started from there. We can start off with Minni, actually, if you don't mind, and then we'll go with the other folks.
Sure. Thanks, Rosio. Excited to be here today. Welcome, everyone. My name is Minni Forman. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Food and Farming Program Director at the Ecology Center in Berkeley. And I worked alongside my colleagues and partners across the state to launch this pilot. And we were one of the grantees who received funding to launch this pilot at farmers markets.
And Melissa?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Gallardo. I am the Benefits and Incentives Program Manager with Food Access LA, formerly known as CLA. And I'm excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Cara Wooledge. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Executive Director of Napa Farmers Market.
You all. And though we can't see everyone's face that's here, I'm sure there are a lot of familiar faces. So thank you for waking up super early and joining us for this call. All right, let's get started. So one of the persons that's not up here, but has worked on this project as well with me and Minni is Putri Kuzdarman, who is the Food and Farming Program Coordinator. And she's been a huge support with this project as well, with the pilot. And if any of our partner sites are in the audience, she's the lead technical assistance person for this pilot. So just wanted to give her a shout out as well. So today's agenda, I'll be sharing a little bit of the pilot background. I'll share some data, qualitative and quantitative. I'll share some key distinctions between the pilot and AB 605, which some of you may know about. And then I'll pass the mic over to my colleagues, Melissa and Cara, who will share from their experience, what it was like to deliver this pilot at their sites. And so today, the main objective for me, at least, is to give you all the information you need to be more familiar with this pilot, more familiar with AB 605. Know that these are really important conversations to have right now, really timely, and also an opportunity to hear directly from the markets themselves, what they experience on the ground. Hopefully at the end, we have a little bit of time for Q&A, and then we'll close out. But as always, if you have any questions about the pilot, you can always reach out to me or my team, and we're happy to answer those questions. So a little bit of background on the pilot. So one of the things that I want you to know is we'll be using different names for this as the pilot has been kind of developing. There's different names that this pilot is known for. So please give us a little bit of grace in terms of the titling of this, but some folks will call it CDSS Fruit and Veggie Pilot. Some folks would call it Calfresh Fruit and Vegetable Pilot, or just the pilot. And so please know that that's what we're referring to in this presentation. It's the same program. We're just we have used different names along the way. So the pilot program was created through state legislation in 2018, directing CDSS, which is the California Department of Social Services, to integrate incentives onto the EBT card. The pilot is testing EBT integration, and there is a proposed legislation that would scale the pilot statewide, which is AB 605. How the pilot works has some fundamental differences from the proposal, and we'll share a little bit more about this later today. But right now, let's just go over the basics of how the pilot works at farmers markets. So some of you, I hope, are familiar with classic market match. This is, we put in the word classic to differentiate how market match is experienced at specific pilot sites and how market match is experienced in a lot of more sites. So classic market match has been in about 270 farm direct sites, including 58 counties. For the classic market match, you earn on Calfresh and you spend on fresh fruits and vegetables. Per market, there is a per market per day per card maximum, which ranges from $10 to sometimes unlimited. You earn at participating retailers and you redeem at those participating retailers. It is a token voucher system. 100% of extra money is used immediately, and it is funded by the California Department of Food and Agriculture. So that's classic market match. For the pilot was present at one point at 8 certified farmers markets, 79 plus WIC stores. These are Mother's Nutrition Centers in Southern California. 9 small to medium sized grocery retailers in Alameda, Santa Clara, and Mendocino counties. For the pilot, you earn on fresh fruits and vegetables. And one of the key things to note is the California growing requirement is removed for AB 605. You spend on anything Calfresh eligible. So if you can kind of imagine the formula was switched in a way from classic market match to the pilot. And then there's a monthly dollar maximum that's the same for all households, which is a $60 max. You earn at participating retailers, so at participating pilot sites with SNAP fruit and veggie purchase, and the incentive is redeemable at any SNAP authorized retailer. At the farmers market, we still use tokens vouchers. However, customers can choose to redeem the extra Calfresh then at the market or redeem it later. And it is funded by the California Department of Social Services. Just as a quick pause, I'll be answering questions at the end of this, but please, yes, put them in the chat and I'll get to them at the end of my section. So a little bit more on the pilot background. So the Ecology Center's role in this pilot so far has been to advocate for the needs of farmers markets as EBT nutrition incentive technology advances. So we do this by participating in the pilot, we collect data, and we inform legislators. We act as administrators between markets, our market partners, and CDSS. And we engage stakeholders in shaping a future for nutrition incentives that consider sustainability, efficiency, and impact. We also provide leadership and vision around nutrition incentive programs at California farmers markets as a whole. I wanted to take a moment to shout out all of the markets that have been part of this pilot at some point. It really has been a huge project for the markets to sign on to since we launched the pilot last spring. And so these are the markets that have participated and have contributed to the learning of this pilot. And so the Grand Lake Farmers Market in Oakland, the Alchemist Community Development Corporation markets in Sacramento, Hunger Action Los Angeles, the Adams Vermont Farmers Market, City of Rialto, and Napa and Atwater, who are here today and will be sharing a little bit about their experience. So other key stakeholders to be aware of are the San Francisco Bay Area Planning and Urban Research Association, SPUR, which is another grantee along with the Ecology Center, Nourish California, who's a co-sponsor of AB 605, the University of California, San Diego, another grantee along with SPUR and us, the Ecology Center. And then also the Nutrition Policy Institute, which I think I saw Ron in the audience. But these are folks that are helping us at the farmers market with our evaluation. And I'll be sharing those results, some of those results with you today. It won't be super comprehensive, but just to give you an idea of what we're seeing so far with the pilot. So let's jump in with some qualitative data. So the Nutrition Policy Institute has been conducting a qualitative and quantitative evaluation of the pilot at farmers markets with the purpose of informing stakeholders like us in the room and also lawmakers. NPI engaged with 106 customers from 6 farmers markets for 7 focus groups in English and Spanish. And with 40 Calfresh participants in the interim report. So one of the quotes that we want to share with you is from a customer in Sacramento, the Country Club Plaza. This participant says, "I really loved the part about it that it was, you could get your $60 and then it was flexible for me for the rest of the month to go wherever at whatever date and spend it." So that flexibility was definitely something we heard from customers, and we heard from, even market managers and others that they heard from the customers that they really appreciated the flexibility of the incentives that were earned or the supplemental benefits that were earned. They had the flexibility and agency to decide where they wanted to spend that. Some more feedback from the customer. Calfresh shoppers thought that it helped them afford high quality, locally grown fresh fruits and vegetables. Again, the program flexibility made it popular, obtaining 60 in benefits at one time to obtain the maximum benefit. We heard this from other folks as well, especially folks that couldn't make it out to market every week. And so they could decide to go 1 week and get up to that cap and then decide, where they wanted to spend the incentives. Shoppers appreciate the option to leave the earn incentives on their EBT card to spend on other food products, such as grocery store staples. Some of the feedback we received from market staff was they appreciated the new pilot program provides increased benefits and choices to their customers. I will put a little kind of side note on this. For the most part, I think it increased benefits, but if it was like a 5-week month instead of a 4-week month, and the market had a $15 maximum with the classic market match, that would be like a $75, match they would get that month versus 60. So those kind of nuances taking into account it's really important. But yes, for the most part, we did hear this from market staff. The pilot program has been difficult to explain to customers and to understand themselves. We definitely saw this, especially at the beginning of when we launched the pilot at market sites, especially with our markets that were used to classic market match. It really was a brain puzzle to kind of understand the formula for how to get the incentives. And so we definitely received this feedback early on. And as it approached, folks kind of got used to it, but it definitely took some time. Market staff also experienced operational issues with the new pilot program, such as long lines, EBT technology errors, and this overall just provided excessive burden on staff, as you know, many of you, if you're market staff, know just how packed your job and your tasks are already, and so this added additional burden to staff, especially in urban spaces like in Oakland or in Los Angeles. We definitely saw this as a big challenge that we had to figure out. And the long lines became extra concerning, you know, when the customers, you know, were seniors, and it was a hot day or it was raining. And so things like that to take into consideration of, you know, we care about our customers, we want them to be safe, and we want them to get the benefits, but also it puts a lot of stress on staff to make sure that folks stay safe and have what they need. A little bit of quantitative data for you, again, not too much. As we complete the report, we'll have more data to share, but for now, just wanted to provide some really high level data for you. So sharing this graph, this is Calfresh and fruit and vegetable distribution. This is April through August, specifically in that window, April to August. And we're sharing the 2021 years, 2022, and 2023. And we have data for these markets. As you can see, they're color coded. I'm just gonna hold that for a second until I go into summarizing what we're seeing a little bit. So a little bit of the summary for the quantitative review is that all markets showed a sharp increase in market match script. So this is the fruit and veggie purchases, the script in distribution and overall spend at market. Most markets showed decrease in Calfresh or not much of a difference in Calfresh distribution, as shoppers elected to keep the incentive earned from the fruit and veggie purchase on their card. Again, this is not every market and not every, but in general, we saw that pattern. Markets near city centers experienced the highest increase in Calfresh shopper participation, with spend growing 212% at Adams, Vermont. Markets in less populated areas did not see such a dramatic result, and could have to do with different levels of county office promotion as well, or other variables of like why that spike didn't happen. So I'm going to jump into the pilot versus AB 605, just sharing some key distinctions. So what is AB 605? It was introduced by Senator Arabula in February 2023. AB 605 would scale the pilot statewide, but one key distinction is that it would only cover incentives. So the pilot that we're doing right now covers non-incentives. So market operators would have to find a way to fund staff time and supplies for script distribution and redemption, promotional materials. Otherwise, vendors would have to get SNAP authorized. So this is one of the concerning pieces of how the pilot and AB 605 are different, especially when we're hearing from market staff how much time it takes to train staff and to respond to potentially an influx of customers and other variables. So that is one of the key distinctions and differences between the pilot and AB 605. Customers can earn and use their incentives at all grocery stores, even these bigger stores, which is just something to be mindful of as we're thinking about like the context and the mission of farmers markets. So that is something that, really does need a further conversation and discussion of, and there's nuance between that as well, right? Like, yeah, most people do shop at grocery stores. And also for us at the farmers markets, when we do have a mission of locally grown, of sustainability of these things, how do we reckon with that, right? Calfresh use at farmers markets may decrease if incentives can be earned elsewhere. And again, one of the big distinction is the no California grown requirement that's taken out. All right, so I am going to stop sharing and look at the chat here for some questions. And let's see. Oh, and then Minnie, you've been helping with questions. I love it. Thank you.
I've just been putting little clarifying comments. It's a really complicated, I mean, it confuses me sometimes, so I just wanted to make sure that folks are tracking.
Awesome, thank you. I see a question from Muriel, what staples are allowed to buy at grocery store? As we all know, SNAP includes some junk food. Is the camel sticking his nose in the tent? So what staples are allowed to buy at grocery store? Yeah, I mean, anything that's SNAP eligible. So once the incentives are in the card, it's just Calfresh money. And so folks can decide how to spend their SNAP. Wherever it's accepted with whatever items are SNAP eligible. And then Hester had a question. Does that mean they take out 60 in tokens before they get the rebate, or they have to demonstrate that they have used the 60 at farmers booth before the amount is redeemed? So this happens as soon as at the point of sale. So at the info booth, the customer has to have an idea of how much they want to spend in fruits and veggies and in other items. And they have to know if they want to redeem the incentive there or after. And the third piece of information they have to know is how much is in their balance. So it's a lot to kind of take note of, as you're approaching the info booth. So I guess to answer your question is they don't have to prove that they, buy the fruits and veggies. But I mean, if they take $20 out in fruits and veggies, the assumption is that they'll go ahead and spend that scrip at some point, if not that day, at some point. And in terms of the incentives that they earned, if they earned the 20 and they decide to redeem it then they'll also, the assumption is that they'll spend $20 of Calfresh at the market with milk or bread or whatever. But if they decide to keep it in their card, they can decide to either use it later at a different market or at a different grocery store or wherever it's redeemed. So yes, I think Frank shared like the visual of like, it's more of like an ATM, right? Like we are kind of, here's the script, you decide essentially if you're going to use it then and there, which is already kind of market match. But the incentive that is earned, they have more flexibility whether to use it there or somewhere else. Let's see. Emily, so is this a separate type of script then? For the purposes of the pilot, we decided to that the markets just use the fruit and veggie script they have used, so the market match script. So there wasn't any new like branding or anything that happened. We honestly, at the beginning of the pilot, wanted to try to make it as easy as possible. That was our intention, to make it as easy as possible for markets. And so it was like, use what you have, right? Which I think in retrospect made it potentially a little bit more confusing, but no, to answer your question, they use the same script that you would see like for market match. It was just used differently. The formula was different at that market. And Cara, yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, there's two types that you would see at any farmer's market that accepts classic market match as well. So Calfresh and fruit and veggie. But the branding of it was market match branding. All right, any other question? Minnie wanted to share, it is important to note that this pilot is experienced differently, at brick and mortar retailers, since there is no script involved, definitely. And we're seeing, we're learning more about this and how it's happening in real time, especially in the LA markets that are near like the Mother's Nutrition Centers. So I know Melissa will share a little bit about that experience as well when she shares. Esther put a question in the Q&A. Thanks, Esther. Do you have a graph of how much Calfresh and Market Match were redeemed at the markets, not just distributed? Not with me, and I don't know, Minnie, if we actually have one.
We were unable to track redeemed with this pilot because of PEBT. The pilot did not accept PEBT cards or out-of-state cards. So there were, especially earlier in the pilot, we couldn't, when we gave out fruit and veggie script, there's also ARPA funding, I believe that's and private match that folks had. And there was no way to really track specifically for the pilot, the fruit and veggie script that came back, whether it was from the pilot or from PEBT or from private funding. So we only really have distributed data. That's clean.
Thank you. In terms of time, I'm gonna pass it over to Melissa, and we're hoping to have a little bit of Q&A at the end as well. So Melissa, feel free to share whenever you're ready.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Just again, for those who might have joined late, my name is Melissa Gallardo. I am with Food Access LA, formerly known as CLA. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit of our experience with the pilot at our market at Water Village Farmers Market. Okay, so a little bit of background on the community. So Atwater is a relatively small neighborhood in the northeast region of Los Angeles. There's just a little bit over 20,000 residents in this part of the city. And then of course, you know, many residents utilize Calfresh to help put food on their table. And in our this neighborhood specifically, we were able to pull data that showed that the average benefit amount per Calfresh case in Atwater is about $270 per month. And then as you can see, there's also a little bit of like language diversity and diversity in this part of town. But participants predominantly are English speakers, coming in at about 75% of Calfresh users, and then about 16 are Spanish speakers. So those are kind of our two main demographics. And then just a little bit of background on like what was going on at the market before the pilot. So as Rosio mentioned, we did participate in like the quote unquote classic market match. So at this market, we had a $15 match. 10 of it was coming from the CNET market match. And then they mentioned we have our market match, which is an incentive made possible through LA County specifically. So that was the other $5. But in general, the market had pretty fair attendance in terms of Calfresh users. So on average, we would see about $7,000 a month in Calfresh EBT spent at the market. And then for market match, including ARP, we would see about 3,500 per month. And then as far as customer count goes, we would see anywhere, you know, between 200 to 250 a month, with about 40 new customers every month. And then, so then Calfresh fruit and vegetable pilot at the market. So we implemented this program early March 2023. And so the pilot really came at a really unique time because, as a lot of you know, March marked the end of a lot of the pandemic era assistance programs. So this meant that the Calfresh emergency allotments were also coming to an end just as this pilot was going to be picking up. And so around this time, we noticed, you know, customers were feeling a lot of anxiety. Not only, you know, were they going through, you know, kind of that anxiety of having their benefits decrease for some folks pretty significantly, but also, you know, Market Match has been around at this market for many years. So it was a program that many residents really came to rely on. So they were also, you know, a little apprehensive when it came to this change. And so kind of to note there too, one of the pieces, you know, with the pilot, we were going to be getting, or customers would be getting up to $60 a month. with our $15 match. You know, people were a little bit upset because in some cases, you know, with our 5-week months, they would be earning less market match. So I think they were just kind of coming into this pilot. There was a lot of, you know, a lot of frustrations and, you know, apprehension, which, you know, can be common with these types of changes. So once the pilot, you know, kind of began at our market, as Rosio mentioned, it was a little bit of a brain puzzle. You know, even though the practice of incentives wasn't new for our market or our customers, you know, the pilot just really presented a lot of different like learning curves for both customers and staff when it came to the program. But you know, despite those like early frustrations, the pilot eventually, you know, picked up and participation of the market grew rapidly. But I would say it wasn't until, so we started in March 2023, and like even our staff who, you know the program very well, reported that they didn't feel comfortable explaining the program or really dealing with it. Like they didn't feel completely comfortable until maybe like June, July. So that kind of gives you an idea of like, you know, how long that like learning curve was and where like some of those bumps, like how long those bumps were around for. But also, as Rosio mentioned, at our market, the biggest selling point for the pilot was really that redeem later option, which, you know, allowed customers to purchase $60 worth of fruit and vegetables without lowering their initial Calfresh balance due to the rebate. And at our market specifically, most customers opted for this option. And even for us, like as market operators, you know, thinking about our market and, you know, the sales of our vendors, there was a lot of anxiety about that. You know, we just weren't sure how it was going to play out. Like we were concerned that, you know, our other vendors would see a decrease in sales because of that rebate option. But I have like a little graph here. As you can see, we have kind of have like a little breakdown of how spending patterns went. So kind of going back to like the fruit and vegetables. So as far as like the fruit and veggie dollars go, they were redeemed with farmers. That redemption doubled in the first month and then remained at a steady increase of about 5 times. And that's true up until, you know, this most recent month. So some of the changes with Calfresh. So we were seeing about $24,000 a month coming in. But again, that includes that fruit and vegetable and the incentive. So the little breakdown, we were seeing about, you know, $8,000 a month in EBT and $12,000 to $13,000 in that fruit and vegetable incentive or the fruit and vegetable dollars. And then in addition, that that $2,000 in ARP. So prior to the pilot, we were seeing about 7,000 in EBT dollars in circulation at our market. So that mostly stayed the same. So even though most people were opting for that redeem option, our other vendors that, you know, sold Calfresh eligible items didn't really, you know, they fortunately didn't see a dip in sales. And, you know, there was a slight increase, but not, you know, anything too substantial. Where we really saw the benefit was for our farmers. So kind of, you know, calling back to those previous numbers, it was about, you know, 3,500 in like market match that farmers would see. And that includes ARP. And so now with the fruit and vegetables, fruit and vegetable dollars and ARP market match, that brought that number up to 15. So, you know, they really saw that benefit. And then as far as customers go, we also saw an increase. So on average, we see about 300 to 400 customers a month, with new customers coming in at about $60 to $80 a month. And then so kind of, you know, Rosio mentioned at the end, so some of the brick and mortar stores opened up a little bit later, you know, into the pilot. So in our specific area, it wasn't until like around October that the Mother's Nutritional Centers opened up and, you know, began implementing the pilot. That was kind of another part that we weren't sure how it was going to play out. But so far we've seen, you know, either participation remain the same or, you know, slightly increase. I think the only like real difference that we're seeing is that now when customers come and if they shop at those other markets, they might not oftentimes they're not aware that the pilot is the same. So that $60 would, be the same no matter where they shop. So they'd come to our market expecting to be able to redeem those 60, but they might have already spent 15 at Mother's. So that's kind of another piece of explanation that we have to do for customers. But so far, it hasn't, we haven't seen, a decrease in sales because of that. Yeah, and so for also included some farmer testimonials. So kind of the overall theme that we've seen with farmers in general was for the most part, most farmers did see an increase in sales because of the fruit and vegetable script that's in circulation. But I did want to share two quotes from vendors that are kind of on the opposite, the opposite side of the spectrum. So for Munoz Farms, they reported that, Atwater is still one of their busiest markets, but they didn't really see a difference in sales. What they were seeing was that more folks were using their fruit and vegetable script to purchase, produce instead of using cash. So was kind of unique to that farmer. And so, even though that might not seem like, a big deal in terms of, sales wise, but kind of thinking about the customer, they're kind of what that tells us is that, they're able to use script and what they would have been using cash, now they are able to use for other expenses that they might have, which is, a benefit. And then we also have a quote from Fungi Valley Specialty Mushrooms. So they sell specialty mushrooms. And so they reported that they definitely have seen an increase in sales. And, they've also shared that, many customers will let them know that, previously with the $15 of market match that they were, would be able to get per day, that, they just didn't have enough money to purchase some of the more expensive specialty items, but now they're able to do so. So that's, another big benefit that, specialty items that might be more expensive are increasing in sales, and people who might not have, been able to afford those previously are now able to, consume those and make it part of their regular diet. For considerations moving forward, this is the considerations for us and, for other market operators or farmers that might consider implementing the pilot. So for us, kind of the biggest part, and, between the difference of AB 605 and Calfresh is just, in general, like that piece of like overhead support. So with AB 605, there wouldn't be any funding to support like staff time or like script printing, like any of those items. And for us, that's a really big deal because we found that, this program is a lot more expensive to operate than what would be like a typical market match. And the reason being is just, one, like staffing needs. So we've had to bring on more folks just to keep that traffic flow, because customer volume has increased pretty dramatically at our market. So having staff be able to move the lines quickly and just be able to operate smoothly. That's something to consider. If we didn't have that funding, we might not be able to have the support that we actually need. Another piece of it is language needs. I shared a little bit about our customers where, most people were primary English speakers. And then, after that was followed by Spanish speakers. Our market match assistants, were bilingual English Spanish. So that, was, luckily for the most part, that demographic was being served. But, if we were in a different part of the city where there's a little bit more language diversity, we would definitely have to hire more staff and, people that were fluent in those languages, especially because the pilot can be pretty tricky to explain. So you really need somebody that's, fluent in those languages to be able to effectively communicate and make sure that the customer isn't upset, because they might not understand the problem or sorry, not the problem, the pilot or how the program operates. And then another part of just overall costs are admin support. So this includes like our market managers, where they're processing, a much larger volume of script, where before they were doing, if anything, like around 10,000, that's including EBT script and market match script, where now, people are processing like $24,000 dollars a month, which is, an increased load on the market manager and whoever's supporting with like that reconciliation. So it's also making sure that vendors are getting paid out for those incentives. So that's definitely a big piece of admin time that, would not be covered with AB 605. And then the other part, just script and tokens, it can be pretty pricey to keep up with the demand. So I know, Hester, you asked about the difference between, distribution and redeem. So we keep track of that at our markets. And so what we found earlier on in the pilot, so EBT dollars are redeemed as, normal. There really wasn't a disruption there. Initially, people were redeeming the fruit and vegetable dollars that they were earning, typically the day that it was received. So that script was in circulation. Over the last couple of months, we found that there's been, a decrease in redemption of the fruit and vegetable script, which has made it harder for us to keep, funds in circulation. So we've had to print, more script, which, is pretty costly. But as far as like the reasons why that might be happening, I suspect part of it is also, the holidays where, sometimes we have closures, or sometimes vendors, don't come due to weather and safety. So, there might be like less opportunity for them to spend. So I think, we'll definitely be seeing over the next couple of months. Hopefully that trend doesn't continue because it is making it harder for us to operate. But, that's something to consider if you're an operator and bring this into your market. And then lastly, just farmers markets. So, I mentioned that we feel that a lot of that increased participation is because of that redeem later option. The kind of alternative to circumvent like some of those program costs would be to do a decentralized EBT system, so having farmers operate it. So we don't know what that would mean, for our farmers, because if they have that decentralized system, it's not going to have that redeem later option like the way that we have it now. It would just be applied like automatically as a discount for folks. So not sure what that would look like in terms of sales. And then also for farmers, that's also another, learning curve that they might have to navigate is, dealing with, FIS and FNS, like the different, learning that new technology, which, can be difficult for some. And then the last piece also being, something to consider is also that AB 605 removes that California grown requirements, which is, worrisome for us because if, more grocery stores are implementing this and, folks decide to shop at grocery stores instead of farmers markets, it could have, devastating impacts for some of our, farmers and farmers markets. We have a few, particularly in South LA, where, the majority of sales do come from market match and these incentives. So, we're not sure what it would look like if, this pilot were to scale and some of those changes would be implemented. But yeah, so those are just considerations moving forward. So far, the pilot's been pretty successful, but there are these other pieces to consider. Go ahead and stop sharing. I do see there's some questions in the chat.
Yeah, there was one that was answered as well that I can read out, Melissa. And I know Minni also responded to it, so I'll read the response. So one question from Beth: this presentation has provided a lot of clarity for me. It seems like at large, this has really benefited Calfresh users, and in most cases, also farmers. It seems like a hurdle has been the confusion for the customer between the two different programs. What would it look like to merge them into one? What's the ideal you would want to see for that to happen? And then Minni, do you want to unmute and share your response, or do you want me to read it?
Sure. I can share my response quickly. And Beth, thank you for sharing that. It provided clarity. We always are happy to hear that. It's a confusing program for many. So I would just share that while we have seen a growth and in some cases double, triple in some farmers markets where agricultural vendors are getting more. We are also looking to the future where if this were to actually scale, what it could look like. A lot of these markets outside of Southern California, up until November, were the only markets running. There were no brick and mortars around to compete. So in a AB 605 scenario where this would scale, there would be Safeway next door, and they could go to Amazon, Costco. It would just be EBT integrated across all retailers. I mean, maybe certain ones in the beginning because there's only so much money, but the idea is that these retailers, they'd be competing in a way that up until November, this data that we have, it's without competition from nearby brick and mortars. That's one. Two, the California grown, obviously this money before with traditional market match would stay in California, and they lifted the California grown out of AB 605 and out of the pilot language. So even right now, the produce doesn't need to be California grown in order to be eligible. Now, that's mostly because CDFA didn't want to regulate that. They were like, we have so much, we can't, like, how do you regulate whether or not this broccoli was grown in California at the point of sale in a safe way or something like that. So that was a logistical thing that just got moved. And then also, of course, if it were to scale, there would be we would have to find other ways to fund our admin, script. Maybe we'd even look at moving away from script. There's some great technology out there. So anyway, those are our biggest issues. There's some other technical stuff that we can chat about offline, but those are the big ones.
Thanks, Minnie. Yeah, in terms of time, we'll go ahead and ask Cara to share her screen, and then we'll get to some other questions at the end.
Yeah, I wanted to respond quickly to the Q&A in the Q&A section about using script and tokens. So Minnie did address that. So the difference is because the farmers market itself is the recipient of Calfresh, we are a central point where folks can redeem that. And in order for it to go directly on the cards and removing all script or token, that means that all farmers would have to have the EBT machines at their stalls, which creates extreme challenges in and of itself. What we've done in Napa Farmers Market is we actually switched from the tokens, which were like little chips, to paper script. And that way it looks like other types of script that we have at the market, which folks can use their ATM card if there's farmers that take cash. So we've definitely found that using paper script is much less stigmatizing than the tokens, and is a way that we've tried to make it more equitable for our Calfresh customers using that. All right. So my turn. Okay. Right. Good morning, y'all. I'm Cara Wooledge. I'm Executive Director of Napa Farmers Market. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a little nervous because my internet has been acting super whack today, so I'm actually using my phone. So if I start breaking up and I can't tell, please let me know, because I'm just going to let it rip. And let me pull up my slides. 1 second. Okay. So I would like to start off with a land acknowledgement. We are located in Napa, California, which is the land of the Onisati people, the coastal Miwok and Patwin. This is their home, and we are grateful to join them on this traditional land. Most of you know, probably you've heard of Napa. We are the largest California certified farmers market in Napa County. We are a independent 501c3 nonprofit organization. There are 2 other farmers markets in our county that are up valley. We are open Saturdays year round and Tuesdays, April through December. We are home to 37 farmers and 99 auxiliary vendors. There was a comment in the chat from Muriel about farmers being crowded out by artisans at some markets. I did want to explain that we have 37 farmers throughout the year. We are definitely dedicated to supporting small farms. Many of our farmers, most of our farmers have 2, 3, even 4 stalls throughout the year. The 99 auxiliary vendors are primarily food vendors. We do have some arts and crafts vendors, but those rotate throughout the year. So we want to ensure that we are always a farmer's market first, and dealing with that in a valley that is agricultural, but not for fruits and vegetables that people can eat, because most of our agriculture land in Napa County is dedicated to wine grapes. So we welcome throughout the year over 162,000 customer visits, and about 80% of those live in the city of Napa. We are very aware of that, because as a tourist destination, we want to ensure that we are continuing to serve locals. And last year in 2023, we served $69,603 in Calfresh, serving 440 households. And this is the amount that we were, as Melissa mentioned, one of the biggest concerns about the pilot in the timing was that the emergency allotment. So during the pandemic, starting in 2020, most folks were receiving the maximum benefit, and that ended in March of last year. So folks saw a drastic reduction in their benefits. So we were one of the concerns as to why or how this might impact market match overall. So just to give you a little bit of background, this project, although it was started last year, has been going on for a very long time. So it was introduced in 2018. And the reason why we at Napa Farmers Market volunteered to be a guinea pig during this process is because we know that market match is an important component of our mission, of the farmers market mission, to increase equitable access. And we wanted to be at the table to learn and to provide important insight into how this program may affect the food assistance programs that we have. So we are a little different in Napa. We do actually a 100% match of Calfresh, and we've used traditional classic market match from the Ecology Center, from the CNIP grant as part of our funding. And then we actually fundraise for the rest of it to offer a 100% match. Just like everywhere in California, housing is extremely expensive, and it is skyrocketed in Napa County. So we're extremely dedicated to ensuring that we have as much assistance to folks as possible. So before the pilot started, we were, the biggest concern was from the staff, and how is this going to impact their transactions with the folks at the info booth? Because as we said, folks come to the market, they present their Calfresh card, and they traditionally say, how much, would you like in Calfresh off of your card? And they say $20, and then they will get $20 in the Calfresh token or vouchers and $20 in the market match dollars vouchers. So this program essentially turns it on its head. And the reason why it's so difficult for us to deal with it at a farmer's market is because it took inspiration from the traditional market match program that started at a farmer's market, and is trying to implement it in a place like a grocery store, where at a grocery store, you collect your items and then you bring them to the counter, and there it's very clear to see if you're buying fruits and vegetables. And that way, once you purchase those vegetables, you could earn the incentive at the register. Well, because we do things backwards at the farmer's market and folks come to us first for their vouchers, that is really where it kind of became complicated. And even though it was just a switch and it was essentially the same, it really wasn't. So that was, there was a lot of sort of confusion at first, and explaining to folks what, asking them questions, as opposed to how much Calfresh would you like off your card? We would say, how much are you going to spend on fruits and vegetables? And then, explaining to them that at this point they had the option to put $60 in Calfresh back on their card if they spent up to $60 in fruits and vegetables at the market. So for our customers, since that was the biggest potential change is that in the past, they would get 100% match for Calfresh at the market in Napa. And now they had the option where they could actually, yes, get their match, but put 60% or $60 back onto their card. So we didn't know how that would impact our redemption of Calfresh and Market Match at Napa Farmers Market. So we were actually concerned and curious to see how it would impact the customer's experience and the customer's choice of how they're going to redeem and spend their benefits. So fast forward to January of 2024, we've crunched the numbers and actually throughout the pilot project in the beginning, we saw that very quickly that our customers continued to want to spend and redeem their benefits at the market right away. There was very, very few folks, even when given the option to put the $60 back on their card in Calfresh, that wanted to do that. They had, I think they were very used to spending the money at the Napa Farmers Market, and they wanted to continue to do that. So we actually matched almost exactly the same amount in Calfresh as 2022, which is pretty incredible considering that folks had a major reduction in benefits in the beginning of this year, right when the pilot was starting. The main difference was last year, in 2022, we served 501 households, and this past year we served 440 households. So we did see a reduction in the number of households served, but those households are still spending a good amount of Calfresh at the market as well as Market Match. So in that, what I wanted to do, because I know that our farmers appreciate the Market Match, the Calfresh, those are sales, they have relationships with these customers. And from the data, we saw that there was not a lot of change on their end in terms of how the program was being implemented or received, like they didn't notice. So I wanted to talk to our Calfresh customers about why they chose to redeem now as opposed to redeem later once given the option. So this is Melinda. She has been using Calfresh off and on for about 8 years. And because the Napa is a seasonal work environment for many reasons, yes, in the vineyards, but also for tourism. She's a part of a transportation driver company. So when she's in the slow season, she definitely needs help in terms of income support. And so she actually informed me, and I wasn't aware of this, that if you make even $1 more than the eligibility, you have to wait for 6 months to be recertified in terms of your eligibility to receive Calfresh. So off and on every 6 months, she checks in, and when she's eligible, she uses Calfresh. And she heard about our Calfresh Market Match program actually through the Napa County Health and Human Services Agency. So I definitely recommend, if you have any kind of matching program, working with your local Calfresh office. And when I asked her about what does she like about our Calfresh Market Match program, she said, "My son and I always come every week. It's our family time together. He makes dinner on Saturday nights, so we go shopping and he picks a new veggie or ingredient to try," which I thought was absolutely lovely. And when I asked her about why did she choose to continue redeem, or I asked her if she did redeem now or later, and she chose to continue to redeem now and spend all of her incentives at the market. She said that she spends her Market Match at the Napa Farmers Market because she thinks the quality of products is higher, and because of the connections that she's made from shopping with farmers and vendors at our market. And this is Savannah. Savannah has been on Calfresh since the beginning of last year when she found out that she was pregnant and stopped working. And she actually found out about our Market Match program through our Instagram, which I thought was really cool. And she loves that the Calfresh Market Match program helps people put food on the table, but also continues to support local ag and community small businesses. And she too, like Melinda, prefers to spend her money at the Napa Farmers Market because she can get higher quality products. She gets to know people on a personal level, and it's so much more enriching than shopping at a grocery store. And I thought these stories were really important to hear from our Calfresh customers because it helps sometimes break down maybe some of the stereotypes about folks that are receiving food assistance. We know that, everyone has different levels of, resources, but that a lot of folks have those same values that we share, that we love about about farmers markets in general, that they are relationship based, that it's more than, it's about quality products, it's about supporting farmers, it's about being a part of. That was another important thing about Market Match and Calfresh and having these programs available, is having a sense of inclusion for folks that maybe don't feel that they have access to these programs for foods. So my recommendations is, like I said, we signed up for this program in 2018, not really knowing what to expect, but we knew that, we as a market have administrative, support staff. And so we wanted to make sure that we participated to help us tell our story and share our experience at the farmers market level. So it's clear that, Market Match is changing on many levels. And, we understand that this pilot program, the intent of this pilot program is to increase, benefits to folks that are in need of food assistance. We love that. But we also want to ensure that this program and what we do at farmers markets continues to be important, because it is important. And we are the ones that, have the ability to join our voices together to share. And so no matter what matching funds or incentive funds look like, we need to continue to ensure that those are being brought to the table. I think, a lot of times, especially in administrative side of things or management side of things, we can get caught up in the day-to-day, the tracking, the data, the meetings, the Zooms, but really helping to hear directly from your audiences, from farmers, vendors, and customers about their story. This will put a human face on the impact of nutrition incentives programs, whether it be a pilot or whether it be classic Market Match. And yeah, change is inevitable. Things are happening, but we can do this together. And one of the biggest benefits that I've had from this program is actually we have bi-weekly Zoom meetings with other farmers markets participating in the pilot with the Ecology staff. And, we don't get to connect with folks in the farmers market world, across the state that often. And so that has been really, heartwarming, really inspiring to hear from other farmers markets, how they're handling it, and just remembering that we are not alone, that we can do this together, and that we have, a powerful story to tell. And the more that we can, collaborate, I think the more impact that we can have. And that's it.
Yay. Thank you, Melissa and Cara, May, and Minni, for your support, your brilliance. It looks like we have, thank you, folks reacting in the chat with those applauses. Darlene asks, was this piloted at any rural sites? I mostly noticed urban, so I'm wondering if there would have been any significant difference in more rural areas. Yeah, does Napa consider itself rural at this point?
No, the city of Napa is more suburban. We do have rural locations in Napa County for sure, but I wouldn't consider it as we're suburban. We're definitely more rural than where Melissa is located though.
Yeah, Minni, do you have any thoughts about this, about the rural sites and the difference they would have made?
Yeah, well, for us, what we experienced the least populated area was the city of Rialto's farmers market, where we saw less traffic and they, in general, just less people around to come and get the benefit. So the most busy one was at Adams, Vermont in LA, and the second busiest one was here in Oakland at the Grand Lake Market. And just because I think being near a city center, people were coming just more people. There were lines, sometimes 2-hour waits. And people were coming from as far as San Jose to come to Oakland to shop at the farmer's market to get the benefit because there were just no other participating sites around.
Yeah, Melissa or Cara, any thoughts on the rural question?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I have that, experience to kind of speak on, given that we're in Los Angeles, but, I mean, I feel like that, could probably be a huge benefit for folks out there.
Yeah, we didn't have, as part of the pilot, we didn't have someone or market from like the Central Valley, so curious about what that would look like as well. On our end, in terms of the Ecology Center, we are thinking about like, if this pilot is extended, what this looks like. Yeah, who else needs to be part of the conversation, and so that we can, our evaluation has them in mind as well. Any other questions? I don't see other questions on here in the chat. Thank you, Minnie, for answering some of the questions in the Q&A. So yeah, I think if there are no other questions, we can end a little early. Any last words from our presenters, Cara, Melissa, Minnie, anything you all want to share?
Nope, just that I think that in the long run, EBT integration will be probably something that happens just because of the nature of technology. So we're sort of the early adapters out in the frontier, fighting it out. It's been really tough for some markets. Out of the 6 markets that started, 6 partners that started, only 3 are left, and then some are dropping out just because it's a lot. So thanks to everyone who participated, and thanks for everyone for coming today and learning about it.
Yeah, thank you. That was amazing seeing so many people here at 8 in the morning. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we were already kind of getting like, oh, it'll just be recorded. We'll send to our partners so they see. So it was nice to see all of you here. Melissa, did you want to share something?
No, again, just wanted to say thank you to everybody for joining and kind of sharing this experience with us. It's definitely been an interesting ride with the pilot, but we definitely see the benefit in the community. So and thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, thank you for your gratitude in the chat and the hearts and all of it. Like I said, our intention with today's presentation was really to make some sense of it, give you information, share from our own direct experience, because it's very niche. It's very niche if you're not in it. And so hopefully that was met. And if you have any other questions, please reach out. But otherwise, hope you enjoy your morning. We have one more session, I think, in a little bit for the farmers market track. So specifically centering Black, Indigenous people of color, market staff, vendors, farmers. So if you identify in those ways, I hope you join us in a little bit. Thank you all.